and people sometimes get confused. When in doubt, just please reach out to Jacob and explain, hey, this is what's going on, so we can sort all this out, because we would love for you guys to do as many camps and X's and O's clinics as you guys are available to do. But just comes a heads up tackling. Please reach out to us, and we'll happily figure something out to where you guys can go with a master trainer to be able to help out on some of these camps. I'm going to move on here. Next slide. Okay, hydration. We're up with the Corey Stringer Institute. They are based out of University of Connecticut, and they are one of the nationally recognized experts in heat and hydration. Right? They work with the military, they work with the World Cup, they work with the Olympics. There's a lot of organizations, and they are just considered the experts when it comes to heat and hydration. One of the biggest things is the acclimation period, which is, basically it allows, our kids who traditionally, they've been outside, but over the last, decade, we've seen a decrease in outside activities during the summer months. So when kids are coming to football camps, when starting their training camp, they're not acclimated to the heat. Of course, some of the positive things is you'll be acclimated, is enhance your sweating rate, at least store more water. So there's a lot of positive things. And so as coaches, right, specifically youth coaches, they sometimes do not have the regulations as far as this acclimation period. High school level, just about every state has something in place that mandates you have to wait, 2 days in helmets, 2 more days in shoulder pads, and it's regulated. Sometimes at the youth level, it's not, right? So to make sure that we stress to coaches that, hey, kids are a little bit different nowadays, okay? So take the time to do more walkthroughs and to acclimatize the athletes. What are some of the risk factors? Like, here are the basic things that make it safe to practice. Right, Leonis, on the left side, you see the issues for the athletes. Chance of it coming in dehydrated, right? Seeing kids, me personally, I've seen kids in middle school drinking Monster energy drinks, right? Coming in dehydrated. All the kids have low fitness levels, right? Kids aren't as active. They're too busy inside playing video games or doing things that they're just outside exercising. High body weight, right? Kids are getting bigger. Right, linemen are getting heavier, even at a younger age. Some of it's diet, some of it's genetics, but it is what it is, right? The kids are sick, right? Kid has a fever, chances are dehydrated. His core body temperature is going to be higher because he's sick, right? You have to take those into account. You have to remind those coaches, you have to know your kids. If it comes in sick, he may not be able to do as much. When it comes to conditioning, you may not allow him to condition as long and as hard simply because he's sick. Exercise more than 60 minutes, which is basically every practice, at the beginning of your training camp, right? Not enough breaks during exercises. I believe that every kid should have access to water, right? If you're hot as a coach, the kids are hot, right? Wearing helmet and shoulder pads. Sometimes coaches forget that. I've been to youth practices where coaches are sitting around complaining, oh man, I can't believe it's hot. I can't believe it's so hot. Well, if you're hot, the kids are hot. Guys play in the league, right? You guys have seen those coaches sitting there, oh man, it's so hot. Yeah, coach, you're hot, we're all hot. We need more breaks. If the air temperature is greater than 80 degrees, that's pretty much the entire country during the months of July and August, right? So that because of the high temperatures, we need to sure our kids get used to wearing a helmet, all right? Then shoulder pads, then full pads. It's just going to take time. It's greater humidity, right? High humidity, greater than 40%, which is pretty much the entire southeast. Those are factors that you just have to acknowledge. There's no point in complaining about it. They're just facts. And if it's a sunny condition, right? 80 degrees and sunny with no clouds feels a lot hotter, right? For you guys, if you've ever been outside and I feel like, man, there's no clouds and you feel your skin like starting to bake a little bit, that's what we're talking about. Maybe 80 degrees, but if you're on field turf, it feels like 9,500 degrees. If there's no clouds, it'll definitely feel hotter than 80 degrees. Any questions about this particular slide? Okay, we'll move on. Illness. When you look at heat illness, at the end of the day, it's your body pretty much overheating. And, here are the 4 most common heat illnesses. Heat exhaustion, external heat, stroke. Like, all of them are serious, but of course some are more serious than others. We have to do a very good job reminding the coaches, right? It's their responsibility to keep an eye on their athletes. Make sure that there's enough water, right? You practice on a field that's close to a high school, right? And hey, make sure we have enough water for these kids. Some kids will only bring, a 12-ounce water bottle. That's not going to be sufficient during the summer, right? So it's the coach's responsibility to try to figure out what our options are, right? Additional heat stroke. This is the most important thing that we have to deal with, right? It is a life-threatening condition, right? We have to call 911 immediately, but more importantly, aggressive on-site cooling. A lot of coaches, when a kid gets hot, one of the first things they do is they try to move them into the shade. You have to do more than that, right? While it may be, 15 degrees cooler, you still have to start cooling the body down, right? So how do you do that? You can use a hose, right? Cold showers, which may not be an option for a lot of youth coaches, right? Cold water immersion may not be an option, right? Covering the body with ice towels is a very effective way, and especially on cost, to be able to cool a body down. So basically what that involves you having a cooler full of literally ice and water, and you put a bunch of towels in there, right? So if a kid does start to get hot, you have him take his helmet and shoulder pads off, right, and you start cooling him down. You literally put the towel around the kid's neck and on his extremities to start cooling him down. Is everybody good with that? Cold water immersion is one of the best ways to be able to cool a body down. But of course, like I said, you have to be able to have like some type of tub, right? Of course, your institute recommends those gray, big Rubbermaid containers, right? Those are $150 a piece, so that may not be an option for a lot of youth organizations, right? Depending upon the size of the athletes that you're using, you may be able to get away with using those Walmart pools, one of the Walmart kiddie pools. But you got to make sure you have ice, right? So that's why for me it's a matter of what are options, what's realistic in your particular area, right? If you're in the middle of nowhere, right, you may not have access to ice. It may be 10 to 15 miles. So you may be better off just using a cooler with cold towels in there. If you see on that second part, it's, normally if you were a certified athletic trainer or a doctor, the best measure of core body temperature is with an anal probe. I'm telling you, do not allow coaches to do that, right? The last thing we want is something weird to happen with a coach trying to check for a core body temperature, right? But those are if you have a doctor on site, that's probably what's going to happen. If you feel that a kid is starting to overheat, go and transport him to the ice tub, submerge him the athlete up to chest level. Make sure to prevent the athlete from sliding fully into the water. So what you don't want to have happen is have 2 kids drag a kid to the ice tub and put him in, because eventually those kids are going to forget about him and he could potentially drown. Continue to stir the water to keep temperature down. Keep the kid in the ice tub until EMS arrives or the athlete's core temperature drops. This is another one of those. This is a point that's extremely important, right? Either until the emergency medical services arrives or until the child starts to shiver. Okay, this is extremely important because if the core temperature is up, the child will not shiver. Right? Core temperature gets down, then all of a sudden, the body starts to shiver and thinking that it's cold. Okay, so that's important. So you don't have to do a core temperature check. If you just leave the kid in the water until he starts to shiver, then you know it's safe to pull him out. Are there questions on that? I think youth coaches, this is a very important part to stress, because when out, just put them in there. You don't have to worry about kids going into shock, unless there's some other underlying condition. So yes, if the guy is 8 years old with a heart condition, yeah, you probably don't want to do whole body cold water immersion, right? For your average healthy kid, sticking an overheated kid in a cold tub is not going to send him into shock. Good? Okay. All right, that's basically it. You see, this is what an ambassador needs to know. And so this is the same slide that our master trainers will teach the PSCs. Right? So the PSCs have taught that to their coaches. If they didn't, here are the things that we really need to look at. Make sure that the athletes are acclimatized. So depending on when you go, one of the first questions you might be able to ask a coach is, hey, how long have you guys been practicing? Show up to a field, right, and the coach says, oh, this is our second day of practice, and they're in full pads. Now all of a sudden you start talking about, well, don't you guys have a acclimatization period? It's a very simple question. It's going to make them think, right? And ask, hey, do you guys have a emergency action plan? What happens if a kid's overheat? Do you have cold towels? Do you guys have, a cold ice tub? Hey, how is the closest hospital? Very simple questions you can ask. You can ask that of parents. You can ask that of coaches. Hey, who's player safety coach? Is he here today? Very simple things you can do to make them start thinking about their emergency action plan. I know I was a little fast, so I want to open it up for any questions, comments, or concerns.
Is that we get their pads and clothing off?
Yes, it is. If you think about it, if you're trying to cool somebody down, those pads and stuff are already going to be hot, right? Between the body heat and the sun, right? Taking those pads off are extremely important, right? Because the goal is to cool the body down. So, when you take the shoulder pads off, let's say that we're doing with ice towels, right? Take the shoulder pads off, and figure out if the chances are parents are going to be there, figure out if the boy has like basketball shorts, gym shorts underneath. If they do, then go and take the pants off. Like if you have if you're full pads, have them take off the thigh pads, knee pads, have them take all that out. Right. That way, when you put the cold towels on, you can use on all the extremities. Rotate those towels until EMS arrives, or the kid starts to shiver.
Any questions for Mike?
Not a particular question, but will we be getting notes such as these bullet points in some kind of form that we'll be able to use down the road, or do we need to take a bunch of notes here?
I'm going to circulate the copy of this presentation to you guys, so you'll have it for yourself.
Thank you.
Is there any question about old materials? Anything on equipment fitting, concussions, psychology building confidence?
No?
No?
Hey, well, thanks, Mike, and on we go here. All right. So on the next slide here, you'll see we're going to get into sort of the logistics and administrative side of the program, and I'm going to go through how the program's changed for this year. In our effort to increase compliance among some of the heads-up football organizations, ambassador visits will be used as an incentive to promote compliance within the program. Specifically, a youth football organization will only be able to request a visit from a heads-up football ambassador once the league has trained and certified its player safety coach. 50% of its coaches have been certified. So the reason we changed this is because, as many of you experienced last year, some of the organizations selected to be part of the program did not oftentimes respond to an email or call either from our office, USA Football, or from yourself. So this year, we are only engaging heads-up football organizations that are compliant with the program. However, if there is one organization that wants a number of ambassador visits, I'll let you know, and then as many visits as you make will equate the $500 per visit stipend. The only challenge we're going to face with this change is that we can't guarantee a specific number of visits. So last year I know we had the 3 visits per ambassador requirement. This year will very much be contingent on the request to our office and USA Football's office, the heads-up football organizations. The adjustment we're going to make is in order to receive compensation and to ensure the visit actually occurred, we're going to ask that you just send a form with a couple of questions back to our office. Once that's returned, we will go ahead and process the $500 stipend. I know last year we faced challenges with getting money out the door. Fortunately, this year we've rectified that issue, and payment will be accordingly to the agreement, which I believe stated 60 days after the visit. So those are a number of the positive adjustments that I've made there. Any questions on those changes? No. The one other thing I'll add is, if it is a organization, let's say, for example, in Alaska, where we don't actually have a former NFL player currently residing there, I'll put a call to the group of ambassadors and see who's available and or willing to make the trip out there. And then, of course, our office will facilitate your travel and cover any expenses along the way. But for the most part, we're going to try and keep you guys in your geographic coverage areas, your state, make you go any more than 75 miles from your home. If you do opt or travel 75 miles from your home address, our office will provide reimbursement for a plane, bus, mileage, gas, whatever it may be. So we will certainly do that. On to the next slide here, your role as a heads-up football ambassador that many of you guys already know, participating in the training session, which is right now. It's working with heads-up football leagues for the 2014-15 season. It's appearances. So those can be speaking to players and their parents at a heads-up football safety clinic, attending a heads-up football coaches clinic, participating in on-field drills, using a heads-up football tackling technique, or attend postseason awards banquet. And all of these occurred last year in some capacity. Some guys only did a banquet, some only did clinics, some only attended playoff games or regular season games, whatever it may be. But these are all opportunities available for visits.
Are you anticipating more of, and I don't know I don't know if there's more just metro city involvement and or being in Colorado, could there be much more rural type of involvement where you have to travel and leave for part of a day or 3/4 of a day or a day off to go, make sure that you're available sometime in the afternoon for, showing up there? Is that expectation that's greater or not?
It's a good question. To the great credit of USA Football, they've registered twice as many heads-up football leagues this year as they did last year. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities for league visits, and that may be in some of the rural areas, let's say in Colorado. So the expectation would be, yes, to allow some time for you to travel out there and to attend that visit. Our hope is that the $500 stipend is sufficient enough for any time you may need to take away from work or for the few hours that you're out there for the visit.
I'm just asking. I'm not trying to get an increase of money or whatever. It's just a matter of I think that there may be more outside of a metro city involvement than there was last year, and it sounds like there's a strong possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'll do when I circulate this presentation to you guys is I'll send you the map that USA Football has on their website, and it shows where all the current heads-up football leagues are in each state. You can get an idea of where every league is located. It breaks it down by county as well as city.
they'll be eventually coordinated for you. You guys would contact us and saying, do you want to go to XY city? So instead of making phone calls and trying to line up the 3-4 visits that I did last year, it's more they're going to call the office and you guys will be contacting us.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's probably more details than you guys need, but USA Football and Office has set up an online request form for the Heads Up Football League. So they are, USA Football has informed them that this opportunity is available. They go and click on a link that has been sent to them and request a Heads Up Football ambassador. They fill in all the details, the time, the date, the location. I then receive a notification and say there's a visit requested in Denver, Colorado. I'll see all the details. Randy, I'll reach out to you with the location, see if you're able to make the visit. If that's the case, then I'll sync you up with the league president, the league commissioner, or one of the coaches, whoever it may be.
Right.
So I tell you already that we had a request come in from a league in Western Kentucky, so we're going to seek to fulfill a request. It's for a summer camp that they're hosting in July. So I anticipate many of the events to start rolling in the next couple of weeks as these football organizations and teams begin their practice schedule and their clinics and get into their season. The next slide is part 2 of your role as a Heads Up Football ambassador. Of course, love for you, if you're willing to and able to, participate in media interviews and if you are on social media, we'd love for you to promote the program and note USA Football on Twitter and note Heads Up Football on Twitter and celebrate the value of playing football and the benefits that kids get from playing our sport, as well as creating a culture of safety in youth football. We for you to advocate Heads Up Football as a better and safer way to play the game. And then support your league's coaches and player safety coach when you make that visit. They'll be looking to you, the former NFL player, for insight. And in time, engage parents, helping them feel part of the solution and broadening the reach of Heads Up Football. The next slide is sort of the three topics here that your job is not intended to do. One is be an expert on heads-up tackling or other parts of the program. Then we leave to Mike and his group of master trainers at USA Football who have gone through an extensive training on pillars of heads-up football as well as the tackling technique. Of course, it's not your job to make the medical decisions on the field. If there is an injury, that's up to the medical experts, the athletic trainer, the player safety coaches. And then, of course, it's not making the coaching decisions. That's up to the league's coaches. You're there, hopefully, to support the coaches. And if they're looking to you for guidance, hopefully you can provide a few tips here and there via your background as a former player. The slide here is, I'll fly through these pretty quickly. It's working with the media, and several of you, or if I should say many of you, worked with the media last year on supporting Heads Up Football, which our office in USA extremely grateful for. If you happen to hear about opportunities to talk about the program, which many of you did last year, certainly let me know, and I can sync up our PR department and USA Football's PR department with the associated media outlet, and we can push the story out there. We'd love for you to help spread the message. We want Heads Up Football to spread to all 10,000 youth football leagues out there. You're the one on the ground. You're the former players, so the more optimism you express about Heads Up Football and bettering the future of the sport you love, better it is for our office, for the future of the game, for USA Football and their efforts. And of course, you're entitled to your opinions. If there's something that taught today that you don't agree with, certainly let us know. Very much open to conversation, and we'll see what we can do to discuss those opinions and see where we go from there. On the last slide are possible media questions, that you might face. Would you let your son play tackle football? What is the right age to begin playing tackle football? Why is Heads Up a safer brand of football? These are all questions that often asked by the media. We've seen them asked up until last week. We were in New England for a mom's clinic with Commissioner Goodell, and these same questions were asked to him. Our office in USA Football has prepared talking points. Many have them from last year, but we will again circulate those talking points to you guys, so you have those in your back pocket in case you need them. Brings us to the last slide, which is any questions. I think we've captured everything. Most of the information is in this deck, as well as the memo that I circulated a few weeks back. But I'll leave the floor open, and if you have any questions for myself or USA Football, certainly let us know right now.
I have a quick question. Are there any progress been made about referees, or going to be anything to some referees? Because that's the biggest question I always get from parents. Because like last year, when I was going to these games, even though at their camps and during the leagues in Menor, they were in the heads of football, but then these games, you know, the games and practices are different. So when they're trying to get these guys on the ground, you know, these guys sparing people, just doing whatever, and these referees just are let go. So the parents asked me, and I went to what is being done to address the referees and penalizing people for doing that. Is there anything that I can tell them for that, or is it just a new subject?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to let USA Football chime in there.
Yes, I know USA Football, we do have a youth rule book that we send out to anybody that wants it. I also know that internally we are slowly working on that particular issue, because listening to coaches and leagues from around the country, we realize that is a concern. But it's working with the officiating community and figuring out, okay, how do you guys pick officiating crews? How do we get them certified? What's the cost? Like, those are the things that we're trying to work out, because at the end of the day, we do realize, we're trying to make the game safer all the way around, right? Whether it's defense right now, we're rolling with offense next year, we realize eventually we're going to have to work with, with the officiating community, right? It is also making sure, especially at the youth level, they're the ones that control their rules, right? They're the ones that, that can definitely help us tremendously, but that's something we are working on when it comes to officiating.
Okay, cool.
It is
I have a comment.
Sure.
I have a comment. This is Eugene Robinson, and I was waiting to get ready for football. I was teaching as a program to my high school team. Since I was with them all summer long, I got good practice in teaching the same techniques that was espoused by as a football. So it gave me really good training to go ahead and kind of relax in the drills and really have a focused emphasis on that. So that prepared me as I went to go ahead and work with the younger kids. So just food for thought.
Great. Hey, thanks, Eugene. Anybody else with any questions about the program, the ambassador program, heads up football in general?
Will you notify us? I'm up here in Vermont, and there's not much going on here. I'm wondering, will you be able to notify us if we can help come on board with this program and advance far enough ahead so that we can get out there and help sell the program?
Yeah, absolutely. And USA Football's region managers are really the ones who are on the ground in the program, as well as the membership team. So I'll put in a note to the Northeast regional manager, see where he's at in the Vermont area, and see what we can do from there.
Because I could even help out in New Hampshire. I mean, we're
okay.
It's so close around here that I'd gladly get on board, have guys get on board with the program.
Terrific.
I do know that we do have heads-up leagues in northern Vermont, and I do have a master trainer in southern Maine. So we're starting to, get more traction in that area, so hopefully we can have, things for you to do, even if it's just, going to high school football games and, one of the other events that, we could perhaps have you do.
Love it.
And Ralph, I'm looking right now. There's currently 16 heads-up football organizations in Vermont and another 16 in New Hampshire. So it certainly comes from where we were last year. Anything else from anybody?
Do you have any more in math? Because I was driving like 3 hours to an event. I'm Vernon Crawford. I was driving to Western Mass 3 hours, and it was done towards the Boston area, by the state area.
Yeah, Vernon, there's 98 heads-up football organizations in Massachusetts this year, so we're certainly going to have something in your area, and you won't have to be making that drive. Although
I didn't mind. I love the kids.
Yeah.
But it was kind of hectic, me coaching the season also.
Yeah, one of the adjustments we made this year is sort of assigning you guys to geographic coverage areas rather than people to one specific league. This gives you more flexibility in terms of visiting leagues throughout the region.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Do you, when the idea about the referees came up, and of course coaches, parents, we usually go out to kind of a practice situation. There be a need, or you've had any feedback on saying, okay, when the parents have some kind of meeting for an ambassador to show up to be supportive of that, or parents or coaches or even the referees or the state high school football athletic association meetings, have that kind of representative there as a former NFL guy in support of growing and becoming more knowledgeable with the education side. That becoming any more, or useful to the USA football program?
You know, one of the things that we're doing is we tell all state organizations and any football organization that we will either send a master trainer, right, send a regional manager, or send somebody to help them and support them whenever they make those type of discussions. Right? So my master trainers understand and are able to go to any meeting and have those conversations. You know, like we send guys, like I know I'm personally going down to the Arkansas Football Coaches Association in a couple weeks, right? And I'm going to be with them for 2 days, right? In their executive, meeting with their executive directors and answering a whole lot of questions. I know that the whole referee thing is going to come up, right? So as of right now, we do not have an official, hey, if you're a referee, this is what we want to do, right? Here's your particular path. But I know we'd be willing to work with referees, right, and maybe come up with some type of option for them to get this training, right?
And you'd mentioned, though, before, the only way that I considered being an ambassador is that, the play safety coaches have to have already been in place and they've had to been trained, et cetera, et cetera. And my question is more towards maybe there's no player safety coach in place yet, but people are asking questions. They want to know. They want to become more knowledgeable. They haven't really made a commitment yet. Is that, I know it would be a need, but is that something where ambassador might be able to help out compared to just having the safety, their safety coach arrangements agreement already made?
Yeah, well, ultimately, one of the things that, at least internally, that we talk about is that particular issue. And we're willing to give and go do presentations, right? I mean, quote unquote, anywhere is what I like to say, and definitely using your ambassadors, right, and figuring out how we can use you guys more, because to be honest, like being up in Vermont, for example, right, we don't have a master trainer in Vermont. I don't know how often our regional managers are able to get to Vermont, but it's being able to give you guys information, right, and just coordinating that with our regional managers. So that's something that is going to be ongoing. And what would that compensation look like? Whereas I know, like for example, our master trainers, to do a heads-up football informational session, they get compensated, $100, right? So the question becomes, is that model effective, and can we do that with the ambassadors, right? Those are the things that we're looking at internally as we continue to grow, is can we train you guys up well enough, right? Can we do it over the phone, or does it have to be in person, right? There's a lot of things that we're looking at internally. How can we incorporate you guys more into what we do?
Sure.
So definitely moving forward, that's something we know that we're going to have to tap into, you guys.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anything else while we're all together here? No? Okay, well, with that, all of you last year completed and sufficiently passed your background check, so that won't be a requirement for you guys this year, but you participated in the training, you filled out the registration, so with that, you are officially part of the 2014 Heads Up Football Ambassador Program. The next steps is I or a member of my team here at the league office will be in touch about Heads Up Football League events in the next couple months. USA Football will be in touch if they have any questions for you or have an opportunity for an ambassador visit. We'll circulate this presentation as well as talking points and follow-up material. In the meantime, if you have any questions or you need anything, you have my phone, you have my email address. I can sync you up with the right people in our office or USA Football as appropriate. And with that, thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch as we go along this youth football season. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
You.